Hi, I'm Jane Esselstyn.
I'm Ann Esselstyn.
And today we're cooking out of Plant Strong. If you have the book, we're cooking on page 168 and we're making a Rockin' Reuben on rye. And the guest today with us, who is the creator of this recipe, is my Philadelphia not born, but raised Brian Hart, my husband. Bri Guy. Hi.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Thank you. So can you tell us how to begin cooking and then tell us why you're such a Reuben expert?
Okay. Well, first of all, for those of you who know and love Reubens, it's an incredible sandwich, but of course it involves a lot of corned beef, which we're not going to get involved with. But what we can do is we can separate with some great meat substitutes, and then really, in the end, what's a Reuben about? It's really about the Thousand Island dressing on there. So that's the key. Is we're going to make a Plant Strong Thousand Island dressing along with the substitutes, and you will have something. And really, it's about the sauerkraut as well. So sauerkraut and Thousand Island dressing in combination with this meat substitute called tempeh, which I'll talk about in a moment. And that's what we're going to do. And I come from Philadelphia, where we have a long history of putting all kinds of sauces and spreads on things. And so I grew up loving Thousand Island dressing. In fact,
Lovely.
When before I was plant-based, I would go to this place called John's Village Market in suburban Philadelphia, and I would get a roast beef sandwich with Thousand Island dressing on it, and it was just swimming in Thousand Island dressing, and I loved it. But of course, we can't do that anymore. We know how bad that is. So,
do you think you'd still like that sandwich?
Probably.
With a roast beef on it?
I mean, would I like to take a bite of it? Sure, it'd probably taste really good. But would I want that for my health? No, of course not. So what we're doing, we're going to use tempeh. For those of you who aren't familiar with tempeh, tempeh is sort of like tofu. It's just it's a fermented bean curd, and you can get it in these small packages. And we even get it around here at our Giant Eagle, which is our the equivalent of like a Kroger's or Hannaford or any of these regular stores. It's not a
Wegmans.
Like Wegmans. It's a special. It's not anything special like a Whole Foods, and so they actually sell tempeh. It's usually in the vegetable department, believe it or not, where you find your tofu and some of the other meat substitutes. A lot of markets these days are adding alternative meat sections.
You know what? The meat section in our
they're
store,
sold out too.
Now they have plant-based in the meat section. I hate having to go to the meat section to get the plant-based stuff. Okay, so what do we do with the tempeh?
So with the tempeh, it comes in this big, ugly block. You're going to open it up and say, "Oh my God, do I really want this?" But what we're going to do is we're going to cut it in half, and then we're going to cut it into almost like a patty. So we're going to cut it long ways, if I can do this well.
Please notice that Brian, who is a knife perfectionist, is using my little serrated red.
So
I was about to say, do you want a better
I did
knife?
a terrible job cutting that one.
Okay, you want a better knife, like a chef's knife?
If I had a better knife, maybe it would be okay.
Shoot, Brian.
Yeah, this one will be a lot better. It's a lot sharper. Oh no, I'm failing again.
It doesn't really matter because the tempeh is quite forgiving.
It is quite forgiving. Geez, these are really thick pieces.
Well,
so now I'm going to float them in these baths of soy sauce, of tamari. So you want to float them in there for a good 5 minutes if you can. And I really need another dish, don't I?
Yeah, we can get another dish. No problem. It's buried.
Because just like tofu, tempeh needs to be flavored in some way. And so you are going to need to put something on it. If you taste it right now, like if I taste tempeh right now, raw, it tastes like nothing. There's no taste at all. So you got to season it. So tamari is the best way.
Do you love all your little helpers here,
I
Brian?
do. I appreciate my helpers. So we're just soaking the tempeh slabs in tamari, and we would probably do that for a solid 5 minutes.
And I think for the sake of being efficient with our time, I want you to advise me how to make the Thousand Island dressing that you love so much.
The Thousand Island dressing is really easy. It's just all the ingredients into a bowl and mix. And
okay. So just with a fork?
Yep, just with a fork.
All right, and it's according to what Brian has done in the past, it is some silken tofu. This is there are different kinds of tofu. And tofu is kind of like cheese. It can be like this. This is actually made from soybeans. So this is like what would this be if this was a cheese? This hard, this firm.
Like Parmesan.
Don't even compare it.
I know.
No, I wouldn't even compare it.
But I'm saying this is like
terrible.
Sorry, this is like a sour cream meets cream cheese kind of texture. It's like it's smooth, whereas that's chunky and not smooth.
So what kind of tofu is that?
Silken. Silken,
tofu.
silken. Don't get regular tofu because it mashes up like used cat litter. Don't. So silken, and we use 8 ounces of it, so that's about not almost this whole thing. So I'm just gonna, it's a whole big block, I'll show you what it is. But the recipe here calls for 8 ounces, so I think I'm gonna take out about a third of it. That's roughly 8 ounces. Don't know what I'm gonna do with that. Maybe I'll mix it in later. And then you say to add in half a cup of ketchup. This, no wonder a young boy loved this recipe. Great, this is a quarter cup, we'll do it twice. So, and this ketchup is Annie's organic, so it doesn't have high fructose corn syrup, it just has good old sugar as the sweetener. And
Now here comes the key part that makes it Thousand Island dressing.
what do we add now? We add
Relish.
Oh, half cup of pickled relish, dill relish, not sweet relish, but just
No, just dill relish.
what's the diff? I'm not a relish person.
One of them's sweet, and one of them's a little
Oh, so
sparkier.
one has sugar in it and one doesn't?
Yeah.
We already have enough sugar with our ketchup. So the half cup of this. God, Brian,
You're overdoing the half cups.
That's good. That's good.
Too much.
Plenty.
Okay, go.
You know the crazy thing about this recipe? Everything I don't like. I didn't like rye bread. I don't like pickles. I didn't think I liked sauerkraut. What other things didn't I like?
You don't like tofu, you don't like tempeh, you don't like
I didn't think I liked tempeh. So a couple years ago when Brian first made this, I couldn't believe how incredibly delicious it was. I liked every single part of it together.
All right, I'm going to mix this for a while to make it be creamy
you're
like
gonna
Thousand Island. I may need to put it in the
I think it's
Cuisinart
going to need to go in a Cuisinart.
or a food processor.
Food processor.
Give me a chance. You guys move on.
No, you're going to need to. It's
Okay,
gonna be,
okay,
otherwise,
okay.
it's going to be chunky.
Okay.
Okay, so now we've soaked the tempeh for a little bit. So what we're going to do is fry up the tempeh. So I've got a non-stick pan, and I'm just going to turn it on. Actually, I'm going to turn it on just below high, so like an 8.5 out of 10.
Oof.
I'm going to let that heat up,
It's going to sear those.
and then we're going to sear them because again, this stuff you can eat it raw. It's already been cooked, so it's not bad if you eat it raw. But all we're doing is really warming it, and what we want is to get the tamari to crystallize a little bit. You want to burn the tamari a little bit so you get a little bit of that toasted taste, where it candifies slightly, and you get that nice crispy.
Wait,
burnt
what's the
exterior.
flavor of corned beef? Like, if corn, what's
Savory.
corn? Is corned beef salty?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's why we're doing the salt. I don't think I had corned beef growing up. All right, I am going to put this into a high-speed blender, if you have one, and I'm really impressed that this is something that you love because right now it looks a little bit like we had a long night last night and felt a little sick in the morning. Does not look that appealing. All right, so are you going to cook?
I'm waiting for the pan to heat up. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to make a lot of noise for a sec. Oh, it's already looking pink.
Yeah. Whoever said to mix that by hand?
Yeah, the recipe here says to mix it in a bowl. Mix it in a blender. Does that look right? Smell right? Oh, it totally looks like maybe more pickles.
Well, it's good.
Okay, look at that.
It's really good.
From the Philly boy, from John's Market. No, what was the name of it?
John's Village Market.
From John's Village Market to our plant-based Cuisinart. All right, I'm going to transfer this.
All right, so I placed the.
They have a stove cam for you here.
I placed.
Brian, would it be even better if this tempeh were to soak a couple hours?
Yeah, the longer the better. But in this case, we're in a hurry, and I did a terrible job cutting the tempeh. Good Lord. We're just gonna make one. That tempeh is so ugly. We're just gonna make one.
Let's make 4 because there's 4 of us here. Let's make 4. Let's go for it.
We'll eat the other one.
Yeah.
You like the ugly ones?
All right. So So the tempeh is cooked once it's been marinated.
Jane. So we have to do the bread.
Yes.
And
bread's
so
gotta be
I
there.
am going to do some rye bread, and it's very possible in all supermarkets to find good, safe rye bread. And if you also, Vestamacher makes one.
You mean
But
compliant bread.
I'm going to put compliant, right. But I'm going to put the bread in the toaster.
All right. Well, which kind of bread? I got some rye bread, but sometimes we could, if you couldn't find rye bread, we talked about mestamacher, Mommy.
Yes.
If you couldn't find rye bread, you could use mestamacher.
Yeah.
And where do you find that usually?
Mestamacher, I find that at grocery stores. Like Whole Foods or, I mean, it just depends.
In this area, Heinen's, but
Heinen's, yeah.
yeah.
Trader Joe's has it.
Wegmans, I'm sure, would have it. They're kind of Wegmans instead of a
Trader
fancy,
Joe's.
slightly fancy. And then the sauerkraut is just 365 Whole Foods sauerkraut. You can get sauerkraut anywhere. Just make sure you read the labels. Sometimes they add a bunch of junk, and this one just basically has cabbage, water, sea salt, and some lactic acid as a preservative. But otherwise, this is just plain sauerkraut. You can make your own. In fact, sometimes I've even augmented. I've taken regular sauerkraut, mixed it in a bowl, and put in some of my own red cabbage just to make the color a little better, and it makes it a little more hefty. So if you can see the tempeh starting to smoke a little bit on steam, and so you'll see it'll start to brown. We're just going to keep flipping it, and we might add a little bit more tamari towards the end of the cooking process to get that nice candification when it burns the edges a little bit and sears.
All right.
Oh, it's looking good,
We're going
Brian.
to take a quick break while we cook the tempeh, and we'll be right back.
All right, so as you all can see, the tempeh is now starting to get that crispy brown look around the edge. You can see as it starts to, and so what I'll do is I'll add a tiny bit more of our leftover soy sauce, or tamari, I mean, and just let it kind of do this little boil thing and crisp around the edges. That's when it gets really savory and you get that nice salty taste, which is what we're all looking for. Salt, sugar, fat, salt, sugar, fat. Just when in the whole food plant-based world, you just want to try to get, work those flavors that aren't necessarily bad for you and amp them up a little bit. So when you're getting rid of, when there's so much fat and you're getting rid of lots of sugar, you got to amp up things like that little crispy edge, which tastes salty and sweet.
Which we love. And our bread is done. Speaking of
I
crispy,
think
crispy. And isn't it done? I thought I heard it. Oh, that doesn't feel crispy. Well, we're gonna go as long as you're going there. We're gonna keep the bread going.
So now what I'm going to do is these big slabs. I think the way I cut them, especially, I did such a terrible job cutting them. I'm going to slice them into smaller pieces for our sandwiches, if you don't mind. You guys mind?
No, do whatever you like.
So for our sandwiches, I'm going to cut them into slivers like this.
And we could have even done that out of the gate.
Yeah.
That's what you wanted to do, I think.
Kind of what I wanted to do.
But we were trying to stick to the recipe that we had, and it's so interesting to find how many things you can correct in recipes, even though you've made them 10 times before you put them in the cookbook. And of course, it's going to have the crispy edge.
All right, how's our bread doing?
Oh, it's almost right. So what we're gonna build it on? We have the tempeh corned beef. We have the Thousand Island, which is John's Village Market approved so far. We've got spinach and sauerkraut. What do we use? A fork for the sauerkraut. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get the bread up and out. Oh,
Now, on a real Reuben, there'd be all kinds of other nasty things on there that wouldn't be good for you.
Like what?
Swiss cheese and things like that. But what we're going to do is load it up with all kinds of good greens and veggies.
I think we just have spinach and sauerkraut today. We could put I got pea shoots. You love pea shoots.
Oh, yeah.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
So this is, there you go. This is Reuben's healthier brother, Ray. So we've got pea shoots, which we love. So I'm going to go ahead and put the tempeh down first.
And you know what else I got just for fun? I got onion
skinny
sprouts.
and fat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, sure. Skinny and fat. Jeez, look at that one.
Did you put the Thousand Island down first? Or last? You're the pro. Try these. Oh my God. These are onion sprouts. Try those.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
That's a little too sharp for me.
I thought it'd be good in Reuben, but I don't know Reubens. Oh my gosh. Dragon breath.
Oh, spinach.
Wow. I think I need a little break.
Sauerkraut. Now sometimes sauerkraut can get a little bit wet, so I sometimes even will drain it a little bit just so you don't get so much liquid on your bread. You don't want your bread to get too...
Is it briny liquid or is it acid? What's it?
That's a lot of sauerkraut.
Yeah, you
Did
got to
you
have
name
the
that?
sour. Yeah,
And you-
absolutely.
Okay, my mom truly, she doesn't like rye or tempeh, like she said, or ketchup or
thought.
pickled. When
This
Brian
is so
first
good
made
for your
this,
microbiome.
when Brian first made these sandwiches, we had my parents for dinner, and my mom was like, "Okay, I'll be nice. Brian's a good cook, but here we go."
Pea shoots.
She ate all her own sandwich, and then all the extras we had, just plowed through, loved it all.
Pea shoots, that's an interesting addition.
That's a great addition.
Excuse me.
I can put little scary onions in
Got
there.
a tovolo. It looks like it went through a wood chipper.
Yep, that's what.
So I'm going to take, and you got to load up the Thousand Island. You can't go shy on the Thousand Island.
Do you pour it on it in two, or is that enough?
So only on one side. That's interesting.
Is it only? Wow. Will you cut that on a diagonal? Or can you reach? Or maybe Brian should do the chefy. Look at those sandwiches. I almost want to make a little bowl that we can dip the Thousand Island in.
Yeah, you don't want to leave the Thousand Island out. So there you go.
Okay, let's get a little dip. Look at these. Amazing.
And whatever tempeh you have left over is so good for snacking.
Oh, we have leftover too.
Yeah, so we're I'm gonna have Josh and Wade, and Brian and everybody, all of us, come have a bite and dip it in here if needed. All right, there's our champion shot of this amazing feast. Josh, Wade, come try. Mommy, Brian, let's try. Dip. You're
Want me to cut 'em
John's
smaller?
Village.
Yeah,
Market.
I like.
John's Village Market. Josh, Wade, come try. I can't wait. I'm so curious. With the pea shoots and the onion shoots. Oh! I lost my tempeh tumble.
Did you
Dip
put a little?
it in the Thousand
Did
Island.
you put some onion in it? I want to try it without dipping to see if it's still good.
Wow.
Oh, that bread is soft.
So much flavor.
Got it.
I'm not double dipping. I'm putting the end that didn't go in.
You can double dip.
Oh, that's really good.
This is Jane and Brian's double dipper because we share.
Wow. The bread is good too.
Isn't it surprising?
That is so good. The bread is awesome.
Everything has like a sour taste.
Oh! Who left their tempeh?
I'm grabbing it. Everything has that great sour taste that I think your tongue knows. I mean, your tongue has a place for sour. Probably because it wants some, but not too much. Too much sour means it's crazy fermented or not, it's poisonous. But this feels good. This is like the sourness of that rye fermentation, the sourness of the pickles have a little sour, the
Pickle
sour,
relish.
the sauerkraut. Wow. All right, Bry Guy. Thank you.
I don't like pickle relish, but I like it in that.
All right, hey, enjoy your rockin' Reuben on rye. And what do you add? What kind of pea shoots or onion sprouts do you add? You guys, I'm going to try these, by the way. All right, hey, thanks so much.
Thanks. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Bye.